In hip-hop's golden era, some MCs mastered a mic, others built an image, but a rare few built a whole universe. Between 1992 and 2001, Reggie Redman Noble wasn't just making albums, he was crafting a world drenched in funk, skits, smoke, and unfiltered Jersey attitude. Discovered by Eric Sermon, baptized in the MPMD School of Funk, and armed with a wit as sharp as his punchlines, Redman stormed the 90s with a run of records that balanced grimy boom bap with cartoonish humor and somehow made it all feel effortless. From What the album's manic debut through the paranoia of There's a Darkside that refined funk of Muddy Waters and the platinum fire of Blackout, Redman's 1992 to 2001 run wasn't just consistent, it was untouchable. This is the story of how a New York MC became the Funk Dr. Spock, one album at a time. Before there was the Funk Dr. Spock, there was just Reggie Noble, a kid from New York, New Jersey, soaking in every sound the city threw at him. Funk, soul, Parliament, Zap, Run DMC, EPMD, it all went to the blender. By the late 80s, hip-hop in Jersey was bubbling, but the world's eyes were on New York. Reggie sharpened his craft in local crews, DJing, rapping, and hidden talent shows. He wasn't just another hungry MC, he was a walking comedy skit with a mic in his hand. The break came in 1990 when fate and pure audacity put Reggie on stage during the APMD show. Eric Sermon saw something instantly, a voice that cracked through the noise, a flow that bounced over beats in a way most MCs couldn't touch. Sermon pulled him backstage, then into the studio. Redman made his debut on EPMD's 1990s album Business as Usual, bodying two verses like he'd been waiting his whole life for this shot. The chemistry was instant. Eric became a mentor, shaping Redman's early sound and showing him how to command both the booth and the stage. Within a year, Def Jam came calling. At Def Jam, Redman wasn't a side project, he was a priority. The label saw in him what fans would soon discover, an MC with razor-sharp bars, unpredictable energy, and a brand of humor that made you rewind verses just to catch every punchline. With Eric Sermon at his side, Redman entered the studio in 1991 to record his debut album. What came out was unlike anything on the market, a record that would make you laugh, nod your head, and scrunch your face all in the same track. September 22 of 1992, Redman's debut album, What the Album, hits the shelves, and hip-hop gets one of the wildest, most original voices fully formed. Recorded between 1991 and 1992, mostly under the guidance of Eric Sermon, the album was an unfiltered extension of Redman's personality. Loud, unpredictable, hilarious, but technically razor sharp. The beats were pure East Coast funk, heavy drums, syrupy bass lines, and samples from the Parliament Funkadelic galaxy. Time for Some Action set the tone, a chaotic call to arms that made you want to move, mosh, and maybe even duck to cover. Then there was Blow Your Mind, a psychedelic fun trip that showed Redman could turn a party track into an acid-laced cartoon. But What the Album wasn't just noise and jokes. On Tonight's the Night, Redman shifted gears into a slow-burn weed anthem, dropping some of the sharpest bars over a smoky groove. It would prove that he could ride any tempo and still sound like the most interesting guy in the room. Critics took notice. The source gave it 4.5 mics. Fans made it a word-of-mouth hit. Within 9 months, the album was certified gold, an impressive feat for a debut album in an era without streaming where every sale was physical. The debut also introduced Redman's alter ego, Superman Lover, a raunchy blaxploitation-inspired superhero who'd pop up in skits for years to come. These sketches weren't filler, they were part of Redman's brand, a chaotic universe where every track felt like another episode. By the end of 1992, Redman had carved out a space no one else occupied. He wasn't competing with the gangster rap explosion on the West Coast. He wasn't just another New York punchline MC. He was Jersey funk incarnate, a fully formed character with the skills to back it up. On November 22nd, 1994, 2 years after the chaos of his debut album, Redman returned with something stranger, heavier, and much darker. There's a Darkside wasn't just a follow-up album. It was a full plunge into the psychedelic funk underworld. This time, Redman took almost full control of the production. The beats were raw, looser, and more experimental, still funk-driven, but warped. As if the samples were melting, and behind the boards, Redman was in a different headspace. Rockefeller was the lead single, a relentless barrage of wordplay over pounding bass, honoring fallen friend DJ Rock Raider style. Can't Wait brought a hypnotic bounce, a stripped-down beat, and playful hug showing Redman could still craft a radio-ready banger even in his darkest mood. But the album's heart wasn't in the singles, it lived in the interludes, the twisted skits, the paranoia-laced verses. Redman later admitted that this was a difficult time in his life, and it bled into the music. The comedy was still there, but it was sharper, almost manic, with an edge that you didn't hear on What the album. Critics were split though. Some called it one of the rawest East Coast albums of the mid-90s. Others found it chaotic and uneven. But commercially, Redman was stronger than ever, debuting at number 13 on the Billboard's Top 200 and going gold within 2 months. If What the album was a party, There's a Darkside was the morning after, dizzy, surreal, and slightly dangerous. And for the hardcore fans, it proved Redman wasn't just riding Eric Sermon's coattail. By 1996, Redman had already carved out his own space in hip-hop as the funkiest, wittiest MC on the East Coast, but Muddy Waters would cement him as a true lyricist. It was an album where the jokes were still sharp, the funk was still heavy, but the pen was deadlier than ever. The title Muddy Waters symbolizes two things: a nod to the blues legends Muddy Waters, and a reflection of Redman's raw, unfiltered artistry, thick, grimy, and apologetically East Coast. At the time when rap was becoming more polished and shining with the bad boy wave, Redman delivered something unapologetically dirty. Once again, teaming with Eric Sermon, the production was swampy, bass heavy, and drenched in funk samples that felt like they were lifted straight from the 1970s basement jam session. The beats didn't just compliment Redman, they felt like the extension of his personality, unpredictable, colorful, and slightly dangerous. Tracks like Pick It Up showcase his knack for making a hook stick in your head while still wrapping circles around his peers. Smoke Buddha was an apologetic ode to his favorite pastime, blending humor with intricate rhyme schemes. But perhaps most impressive was Whatever Man, a single that perfectly encapsulated Redman's appeal. Smooth, confident, but still quirky enough to keep listeners on their toes. Muddy Waters also marked a period where Redman's wordplay became denser. He packed bars with pop culture references, inside jokes, and layered metaphors that rewarded repeat listens. This was an album for the fans who rarely listen, who caught every slide jab, every absurd punchline, every moment where Redman bent language to his will. Critically, Muddy Waters is often cited as Redman's magnum opus. Even though it didn't dominate the radio, it still became a cult classic, an album that hardcore fans will hold up as one of the greatest East Coast rap projects of the 90s. And for Redman, it proved that his success wasn't just a fluke. 3 albums in, he was still innovating, still carving his own lane, and still the funk Dr. Spock with the dirtiest, most entertaining flow in the game. Up next, Redman wouldn't just expand his solo legacy, he would form one of the best and the most iconic hip-hop duos and take his career to a whole new level. 1998, Redman was no longer just a quirky funk Dr. Spock. He was a certified solo star and a team player. November 24th of 1998 saw the release of Darkside named 2000, a record that balanced club-ready hooks with rugged street sensibilities. This album was a statement. Redman had matured, his lyrics tighter, his flow more confident, but he never lost the humor that defined his brand. Tracks like The Goodness and I'll Be That were infectious, party-ready anthems that still showcase his skill on the mic. The record was also a showcase for Def Squad, a collective of new work and the Long Island MCs that included Eric Sermon, Keith Murray, and Jamal. This crew dynamic gave Redman a platform to collaborate, experiment, and push the envelope production and lyricism. The chemistry in the studio was out of this world, and it translated to every track. Now, while Darkside named 2000 didn't reach commercial heights of some mainstream releases, it reinforced Redman's reputation. An artist who could consistently deliver quality, whether alone or in a group. It was a bridge between his early raw chaos and the polished, high-energy collaborations that will follow. By the end of the 90s, Redman had cemented his identity, a master of funk-infused hip-hop, a cornerstone of the East Coast sound, and a collaborator whose chemistry with fellow artists was undeniable. And then in 1999, he would take that chemistry to its peak. On September 28th of 1999, 2 of hip-hop's quirkiest, hardest-hitting East Coast MCs joined forces for what would become one of the decade's most iconic collaborations. Blackout, Method Man, and Redman. The chemistry was instant, explosive, and impossible to ignore. The album didn't just chart, it exploded. Debuting at number 3 on the Billboard 200 and later going platinum, Blackout merged Redman's wild, unpredictable energy with Method Man's smooth command and presence. The result was a non-stop lyrical dance, where every bar built on the other's momentum. The Rock Wilder became the anthem of the project. It was hard-hitting and perfectly tailored to both MC's strength. The production was a perfect mix. Rock Wilder, Eric MC, and RZA lent their beats, giving the duo room to flex their styles. The interplay between Redman's manic punchlines and Method Man's laid-back swagger became a blueprint for future rap duos, proving that collaboration could amplify individual artistry rather than dilute it. Culturally, the album was massive. Music videos dominated airwaves, the duo starred in movies, and their combined charisma brought East Coast hip-hop a late 90s moment of mainstream visibility. Blackout wasn't just an album, it was an event. On June 19th of 2001, Redman dropped Malpractice, his sixth studio album and his first solo record of the new millennium. After the massive success of Blackout with Method Man, expectations were sky high, but Redman was never one to follow trends. He forged his own path. On Malpractice, Redman blended his signature humor with more polished production. Tracks like Let's Get Dirty, I Can't Get in the Club were designed for the clubs, while I'm Doing It showcases his lyrical dexterity packed with internal rhymes and absurd punchlines. Now, unlike his 90s records, Malpractice leaned into the new millennium sonic landscape, crispier drums, layered synths, and more structured hooks, yet it never compromised the chaotic energy that defined Redman's career. That balance of funk, humor, and skill remained intact, proving that he could adapt without losing his essence. Critically, the album received praise for staying true to Redman's style while embracing the evolving sound of hip-hop. While it didn't achieve the commercial heights of Blackout, it reinforced Redman's place as a veteran who could still innovate, entertain, and dominate the mic at the same time. From What the Album to Malpractice, Redman's 1992 to 2001 run wasn't just a series of records. It was the evolution of a singular voice in hip-hop, a voice that balanced chaos with precision, comedy with skill, and funk with lyrical genius. Redman didn't just survive the 90s, he thrived, leaving a legacy that will influence every East Coast MC who followed.